I
You know
want
what
to
I mean?
record this because this actually
That's
is a
fine.
pretty good
That's
topic of
fine.
conversation.
That's fine.
Okay.
My personal criteria would be the budget put behind it, the production company, and its success afterwards would
Dustin is like
determine.
Dustin's like as long as L&M was a part of it, that's all that matters to me.
I don't.
Mainstream.
I wouldn't necessarily say success afterwards because there are some
Well,
plenty of mainstream movies that did not find commercial
And
success.
that's where I'm like, well, shit. How do you base a criteria?
right, but by Jordan standards, right? Star Wars would not be a mainstream movie until after it came out, right? Like it as a concept didn't exist beforehand. It came out.
Right. Hold on.
I
Yes.
I
Yeah.
would
So
I would
so
say at the original production point of Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope, it could be considered an indie movie because it didn't have
yeah.
that mainstream kind of appeal to it, or at least not at the beginning. It
Well,
wasn't until after the success of that indie film that it ended up becoming mainstream.
which is kind of where I'm at. Like when we're talking about Sam Raimi,
Mm-hmm.
very definitely started indie filmmaker with his friends that did a movie that turned into something that became a cult following that led to him to other directorial jobs in the future that led to him to Spider-Man 1, 2, 3, Doctor Strange 2, which is now more mainstream. But my
Yeah.
thing is like Star Wars, for example, is harder to compare that to because it's like Star Wars did not exist before Episode 4.
That's
But
true.
if we're talking about Star Wars, like if someone's doing Star Wars now, it's mainstream, right?
But funny thing is, technically, Episode 4 or Empire Strikes Back is an indie film. He bought the rights.
Right.
I mean, you could probably say, like, in its age, in its time, that the beginnings of Star Wars is very indie. Because, I mean, how many people were taking that type of movie seriously at that time? Now it's definitely not
It's
an
in the
indie
mainstream.
film, it's
Yeah.
in the mainstream. But
Yeah.
when it started, it was
Yeah.
definitely
But
considered an
see,
indie
I
film.
I don't consider Star Wars now mainstream because they have a big budget. I
Oh,
consider it
God, no.
mainstream
Disney
because
owns them. Hell no.
everybody knows what Star Wars is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, you could probably put it down to more who spends the biggest marketing budget, and that would be more closer to what mainstream is today. Because the more you market it out, the more people find out about it.
Well,
Okay.
But
I
Star
think at
Wars
this
itself
point,
doesn't even really have to market itself anymore that much if you really think
no.
about it. Like everyone enjoys Star Wars.
So,
I love Star
so
Wars.
kind of bringing us back to the conversation me and Jordan were having before all this. Robert Rodriguez is very much an indie filmmaker, right?
Very, very much.
His first
Sure.
film was like $8,000 or something. El
Something like that,
Mariachi,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Super cheap.
He did a film with James Cameron called Alito Battle Angel. Not a mainstream concept. I'm sure none of y'all know what it is, right?
I
I've
didn't
heard
know
of
what it
it.
was.
You've heard of it, but you never read the
Yes, I
comic,
never
right?
read the comic, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if
It
someone
was
showed you a picture of Alita Battle Angel, would you be like, I know exactly who that is?
Oh,
no,
God,
probably.
no.
Yeah.
No,
So
right. Okay. But it got like a $250 million budget and made over $400 million. That would be considered a mainstream film, right?
I see that's where I stand away from that. I don't know that I consider the monetary budget and success of the movie makes it a mainstream concept though.
Yeah.
Like oh,
Bless you.
Bless you.
bigger production, yes, but mainstream concept. I'm not saying it's not a big production.
I mean, it could
to me there's a difference between mainstream and big production film.
it could be a mainstream production with an indie concept. I think that's the best way of putting it.
Okay.
That's just me.
Yeah.
So
But like
I think
for me,
I think it could be both things.
right.
It could potentially be both
Rob,
things.
look, Rob ever playing both sides.
I love how Rob comes in and plays like the judge, like he's like the father, like mediating everything.
He's like,
right
guys,
now, like,
I'm just making sure we're all on the same page.
you're making
Boys.
some interesting
I
points.
believe you're both
You're
making
also
good
making
points.
some interesting points. We're
I'm
not just
proud of you both. And welcome back to the Centerway Society. We are done with our summer blockbuster series. I know that's very sad. We had some really great episodes, and I'm really, really happy with how everything has been turning out. But we have decided to move on to something different now that we are in September. And we are going to start talking about some of our favorite TV shows of all time and some of the fan theories behind them and why we love these shows. And since I am the host this week, I decided to start with one of my favorite shows of all time, but we'll get there in a second. Let's introduce the guys. Ladies and gentlemen, he's my chief of staff. He's my trusted advisor. It's Dustin.
Me? Oh,
Yes.
thank you, Rob.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yeah, means a lot.
He's the vice president. He's the second in command. He
Damn.
is, quite honestly, kind of useless, but we like him anyway. It's Jordan. Hi,
It
Jordan.
started out so nice, and I was like so disappointed that I didn't get chief of staff, and I was like, oh shit, no, I got vice president. Better. Then he shits on me. So now, Dustin, I just want to ask you a question. The show we're
Alright.
discussing tonight, mainstream or indie?
Damn.
Kind of indie, right? Kind of mid.
I love me some West Wing. Like, it's been years, but
You
Considering
and
you've
Rob-
only watched one,
You
not
and
even
Rob-
one episode, one scene of this show,
You and
your
Rob,
opinion is invalid.
you and Rob are the only people that know that show exists.
I'm staying out of this one
Bullshit.
personally.
I'm going. I'm
Y'all
going for.
fight it out.
I'm going for
Considering
Kennedy
Martin
shot.
Sheen is one of the main characters in this
Yeah.
show,
Yeah,
yeah,
mediocre
okay,
talent.
it's-
Mediocre talent. I just got muted.
and mute. Jordan's not going to be in the rest of this episode.
He's
because
gonna stay in
being
podcasting jail.
You're in podcasting jail. All right, I'm joking, Jordan. You know I'm joking. Come on,
I'll
man.
take mine back too then.
James isn't here, and I can't shit on him. So just for a brief moment, and just like Jordan has said, we are doing the West Wing. Jordan,
When you roll this back, Jordan said your TV show. Dustin said West Wing. I was trying to be
Okay.
nice still.
my chief of staff,
Your
said
chief
the
of
West
staff
Wing.
leaked the information.
How dare you? God, Toby. Anyways, moving on. West Wing is
Sorry.
actually probably one of my favorite TV shows of all time. It's something me and my mom used to watch when I was younger, when it was actually on live TV. And to just
you're
get, I really am. Just get a little personal. This show is actually kind of the bedrock of the relationship my wife and I have. When we first met, one of the things we connected on was we were both fans of the West Wing. So we would actually hang out together and watch the seasons through. And we still do that to this day. Usually like right before we fall asleep, we'll put on the West Wing because it's easy to fall asleep to, because
It's comfort food, baby.
it is very, like, it created the walk and talk method of shooting as far as TV shows were concerned. I mean, it's used a lot these days.
Speaking of which, Rob, how amazing would that have been if we could plan this out better? We could have had a walk and talk podcast.
God,
walking
why did
through
we
a
not do that?
I know, right? We all could have been like walking through a
Hold on.
parking lot.
Would you be
Like,
willing to say that West Wing is the reason that you guys have a family and a son?
Yes.
Look at that. West Wing making things happen.
West Wing is easily what I would consider the bedrock of our relationship and our marriage.
I'm really surprised your son isn't named Jed. Just saying.
Well, we named him.
Well,
after-
it was probably, Bobby was like Robert Downey. He's a junior, right?
He's a third. We
Oh,
named him
sorry,
after my dad.
a third. Sorry, he's a third.
Mhm.
So it's like you get that option, or you get like West Wing. He was like, I think I want a third, a little bit more than I want. That
I had to fight my brother for the name because he wanted to name his firstborn son Robert Kenneth because it was our dad's name. So, anyways, we are getting way off topic. So we are actually going to be talking about the West Wing. There are 7 seasons. You go through a lot in this show. I mean, you go through re-election, you go through assassinations, you go through a kidnapping of a president's daughter. There's so much happening in this show, and it's all across 7 seasons. And then you get, which I'm really kind of surprised they didn't try and extend it. Maybe, I mean, Aaron Sorkin left after the 4th season, who created the West Wing, who also created The American President, who wrote and directed that,
And
with
A Few Good Men.
Michael Douglas, and did Aaron Sorkin do A Few Good Men?
Mhm.
Oh, great! There you go. You're welcome, America. Basically any
Yeah.
political drama, it's Aaron Sorkin. Also The Newsroom, great show, really, really good. Only 3 seasons came out of that, but it was still really, really good. Um, but just a very, very well done show, very well written show. Aaron Sorkin did leave at the end of the 3rd season, I want to say, or the 4th season.
I think it
Uh,
was fourth.
I
Yeah.
think it was 4th. So he wasn't there for the final 3 seasons, but you could tell that his stamp and his want for this show was still felt throughout that entire run. And honestly, like I said, it's one of my favorite shows of all time. I still watch it to this day. It's on Max, so all 7 seasons, so I get to watch all of it. I usually start in the beginning because by the time I get to the final seasons, I'm like, I don't want to watch that. I'm going to start this over again.
Yeah.
So let's get into some of the theories that surround the show. And the first theory involves goldfish. For those who have not watched the show,
Like the snack.
I'm getting there.
I just want to know if we're talking about fish or we're talking
In the first season of The West Wing, Danny Concannon, who is a reporter, gifted CJ, the White House press secretary, a goldfish, an actual legitimate fish, because one of the other characters, Josh Lyman, told him that CJ really liked goldfish, that she couldn't get enough of them. He thought he meant the fish, when really he meant the crackers. So the goldfish actually becomes part of the show. It's generally in the background when you go into CJ's office, but the goldfish actually knows more. Because if you actually pay attention throughout some episodes, the things inside of the little goldfish bowl change. Like, for example, in season 5, when the former president died, there is a coffin with the American flag draped over it inside of the fish bowl. So the fish actually shows what is actually going to happen. There are instances
the
of this.
goldfish is foreshadowing, is what you're
Yes, the goldfish foreshadows different episodes.
saying. The
And
goldfish puts like new items in there every episode. It's like,
like
oh, yeah, the
there's an
assassination.
episode
Yeah,
towards the end of episode
Holding
or
a
season
sniper
3.
rifle.
There is like a small little thing. I think this is one of them. Like there's a small little thing of roses in it's a little figurine in the goldfish bowl. And Mark Harmon, who had a 3 or 4 episode arc where he played a Secret Service agent who was protecting CJ after she was getting death threats. When he was shot and killed in a robbery, and when he falls, the cashier comes running around and he knocks over a thing of roses. So like there's like different ones throughout the series where the goldfish actually has things inside the bowl, if you pay attention enough, that is foreshadowing what's going to happen in the episodes.
So then, hold on. I have a quick question about that.
Yeah.
Is it the goldfish that is predicting these, or is there someone who's taking care of the goldfish bowl who is giving hints at what's
clairvoyant.
going to happen? Like, yeah, like they're a overarching assassin, and they're like, every time that I'm going to do something like this, I'm going to show. Here's my, like Home Alone. They, he fucking he turned all the water in the house so it flood, and that was their signature. They're calling their signature.
The Wet
Is this
Bandits.
the Wet Bandits, exactly? Is this what this signature is? Like the person's going in there and like putting a coffin in here today because someone's died.
Oh shit, like a playing card or something.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean that is probably more likely. But
And
I
who
like
would it be?
I would like to think it's just the goldfish.
Man, somebody picked that up, right? Like it happened enough times, like the whole what is it, deductive reasoning? Like they see the little signs and they're like, that goldfish is motherfucking like profit or something, right? You come into work one day and you see like a nuke, like a little tiny nuke, and you're like, oh my god, we're all dead.
So that's more of a fun fact, I guess, than a fan theory.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, like the
I
writers
think-
like sprinkled in like a little bit of
probably.
shit.
I just like the idea that the goldfish is actually predicting everything that's going on in this
I
show.
just want to know who's the mastermind behind the goldfish. You know,
Yeah.
who's the person behind in the back behind the shadows,
This is like some
behind the
supernatural shit.
foreshadows.
Like we have like a Chuck within West Wing. Like God
We
exists
do.
within the White House. Like God exists and he is American.
Well,
Wait,
President
wait,
Bartlett
wait,
is
wait, 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 wait.
Catholic, so
So you said in season 2 he's like God, that
Yeah.
whatever that scene, right? When does the goldfish stuff start happening? Is it before
Which
or after
it
that
is
scene?
throughout the series.
No. What I'm asking is it before
It
or
happens
after
before.
that? Damn.
There are moments before.
What if it was God, Dustin?
Jordan, you need to watch that episode.
It is a really good episode.
It is metal as fuck.
So I'll find the scene. I'll send it to you so you can at least just watch that scene because you
That way
do
I can
need to
say I've
watch it.
watched 2 scenes.
There you
Yeah.
go. Then you'll watch 2 seasons. I'm pretty proud.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is actually a theory. For those who don't know, Leo McGarry is the chief of staff. He's played by John Spencer, who unfortunately did pass away during filming of season 7. But we'll get into that a little bit later. But he does play Jed Bartlett's chief of staff, Leo McGarry. In reality, in actual existence, the White House chief of staff's office is just an office. It's close to where the president's Oval Office is, but it's not like deliberately right next door. However, in the West Wing, in the show itself, they show that the chief of staff's office is right through a door and a small hallway, like maybe like 6 feet of a hallway. And the door is constantly open. So that way they could see, like during it's closed during some meetings and things like that, but there are times where it's open.
Uh-huh.
Leo McGarry's character, John Spencer's character, Leo McGarry, is an alcoholic. During you find out that during the first presidential run, he actually had a relapse during what was supposed to be a debate between President Bartlett and his opponent, which you never find out the opponent's name, which I'm kind of sad about. Regardless, but he ends up having a relapse. Not many people know. President Bartlett. President Bartlett is one of the few who knows. There's 3 people who knew. So the reason, and this is just a theory, that he placed the chief of staff's office in such close proximity is so that way President Bartlett could keep an eye on his chief of staff to make sure he doesn't have another relapse.
I could see that, but at the same time, there's so many things that point to him having like unlimited, like what do you call it, like just an unwavering trust in Leo. You know, I don't know if he would necessarily be that scared of him relapsing, right? Like he's not treating him with baby gloves, I guess.
No, he's not treating him with kid gloves or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just think it is possible, like, just to, even in the back of his mind, he has so much to worry about as being president of the United States, that wanting your friend to be okay, and with all the stress of that particular job, being the chief of staff for the president of the United States, I mean, you got to have some type of worry in the back of your mind that maybe I honestly I think it is possible. I don't think it's likely, but I think it's possible.
I would even counter that theory with another one.
Okay.
Because Jed has MS, right? And
Yeah.
Leo's the only one that knows about it, as far as I know.
Leo did not find out until about 10 episodes into season 1. He did not know that the president had MS. The only person at that point in the White House who knew was Abby, his wife, and that's it.
Okay.
And after he had a collapse before the State of the Union and she came rushing back, Leo started putting the pieces together. And that's
Okay,
when he
gotcha.
confronted Abby, and that's when she told him that he has MS.
Because this whole thing was Leo's plan, right? He's the one that came to him and he's like, I want you to
Yes.
run for president.
You find that out in season 3. Christmas
Okay.
episode.
Christmas is coming up.
I
Come
love
on.
I love Christmas episodes. They're just, oh my god, they're my favorite episodes.
Yeah,
of
he
everything.
loves
I'm
them in
sorry.
April. You know.
I do. I can watch the Ted Lasso Christmas episode anytime. It's
Dude.
such a great episode.
A Christmas episode.
That's definitely what we're doing around
Stop.
Christmas time. Anyways, we will
Best
plan
Christmas
that.
episodes, Rick.
gonna find like a Scrooge outfit to wear during that.
We were not going to discuss this anymore because Jordan will get upset, and then we
God.
don't need that. Jordan,
Yeah.
do you have any thoughts on this?
It's fucking August. Shut up about Christmas.
We're not,
And then the
I meant
episode
about
will
the
come.
theory.
And then the episode will come, and then his heart will grow 3 times its size.
Um,
Three sizes.
and stuff. Yeah.
I don't know that I have any like comments on it. I mean, I could see it would be a way of like kind of, you know, maybe like baby gloves without the baby gloves, kind of like
Yeah.
keep an eye, but I also am not an avid watcher of the series. So I don't know what like behaviors would be and how people would typically act and respond to certain things.
Maybe he put the offices so close together so they would have like room for activities and they could hang out.
There you go.
And play like foosball or something.
He put him
Be
so
nice.
close. He wanted to keep him close because he's the guy that's been putting the thing in the goldfish bowl.
Oh, keep your like enemies closer, kind of.
Yeah,
kinda deal? Yeah.
Friends close,
He's
but enemies
he's like-
closer.
He's like,
Yeah.
I happen to know she had a few goldfish figurines for like
See-
bowls.
I see
Yeah, I
like,
just I have fish at
you
home.
like them
Mm,
goldfish.
mm, mm,
Mm,
Hmm.
mm.
All right,
Okay.
let us move on to our next
Lettuce.
because we got 40 minutes before Ahsoka comes on. So towards the end of season 4, you find out that the vice president, John Hoynes, is involved with a woman who is not his wife. So he ends up resigning. He ends up resigning, and this leads to shenanigans aplenty because the president actually, at the end of season 4, his daughter is kidnapped, so he uses the 25th Amendment to excuse himself, and that means that the Speaker of the House takes over the presidency, and he's a Republican. So you end up like handing power over to your rival
Wait.
party. But that I'm getting too deep into this. Jordan, you
Hold-
really need to watch this show.
No,
It
no,
is
no, 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 no,
so
no, no, no,
good.
no, 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 no.
Oh,
This
it's
has
also
nothing-
John Goodman.
Hold on. This has nothing to do with the show. Is that a specific thing of the 25th Amendment? Because I thought if you
Yes.
gave up, your vice president took over.
Yes, but the vice president resigned because of the sex scandal.
Sorry.
So
then
there
it
was
Speaker.
no
Gotcha,
vice
gotcha,
president.
Gotcha.
So like
Sorry, I misunderstood what you're getting at. My bad.
him recusing himself,
Okay,
the Speaker of the House was the next
was
in
next
line.
in line. Correct. Yep.
So
Okay.
he assumed the role of the presidency. So he's handing political power to basically the Republican Party, who was played by John Goodman. But that's just
Okay.
random fun facts for
I
you.
thought you were saying it went president to speaker.
No.
not knowing
It's
that the
president,
vice
vice president, and Speaker
Yes,
of the House.
okay.
But
Yes,
because
that's what
of the
I was-
vice president resigned
You're right.
because
okay.
of a sex
Yes,
scandal,
Yes.
and
I'm with you now.
this is sort of a theory. I don't know if it's actually been confirmed or not, but the writers took Bill Clinton's sex scandal, and that was the source or what inspired the vice president's scandal at the end of season 4 or towards the end.
I would definitely agree with that. I mean, the whole show in general got delayed because of that.
Yes.
Yeah, because the studio was not convinced that like anybody would want to watch a show about the president and his staff.
Well, originally the show wasn't even supposed to, and the president was not supposed to be involved. Martin Sheen was supposed to have a couple scenes throughout the first season, but it was mainly supposed to be about the staff.
Right.
But when they were writing it, Martin Sheen got involved somewhat, and he loved the idea of the show, and he signed on to do more episodes. So they started slowly implementing more and more of President Bartlet into the show. It got to the point where Martin Sheen was like, I want to do this full time. Like
Mhm.
he put aside his film career so he could act, so he could be in the West Wing.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Yeah. So I
Nice.
would agree. Yes, it probably has something to do with
I
the
think
real life events.
originally it was supposed to be the president who had this sex scandal. It
But
was
it's
supposed to be President
Jed.
Bartlett. Well, then he became such an integral part of the show that they decided to do the MS scandal. And because everyone thought he was so wholesome and so good that they didn't think he would actually cheat on his wife.
Dude,
So they ended up doing MS instead.
tell me I'm wrong, man. Like Jed is motherfucking Captain America.
I would
Right?
vote. I would rather vote for Martin Sheen, like having amnesia and thinking that he's actually Jed Bartlett for president
Yeah.
versus literally anyone else.
Yeah. He's the president we need, not the one we deserve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's the-
Also, the
He's the
character went to
Gotham
Notre
Knight,
Dame.
if you will.
So,
Is it as wholesome as I remember it? Because I mean, I'm a few years removed
yes.
at this point.
I highly recommend watching it.
I'm
again.
like
It's such a good
terrified
show.
that I'm gonna like go back and watch it, and I'm gonna be like, oh, this is the same vibes I remember, and then they're gonna say something. I'm gonna be like, oh shit, like,
Oh
This is
no,
not-
it's still
this is not aged well.
it's still that good. It makes you yearn for these kind of politics because the way things are these days, I mean, it's so disheartening. And this
is
gives
the
you hope for what politics and for what our government could be. And I
Now-
don't mean to get on a soapbox or anything, but it really does give you hope for what actual governance looks like.
now this isn't exactly a theory, right? But do you think that his MS diagnosis played into him being such a good person? Like let me kind of clarify a little bit, right?
Okay.
He's a guy who knows that this is going to take him at some point, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't let anybody, bribe him. He's not in anybody's pocket. He is a man who is fallible. He's not perfect by any means, but he does everything he can for the American people. Do you think that played a role in it whatsoever? Or do you
I
think
think
that
it's
that's just who he
possible.
is?
But a part of me wants to believe that's just who Jed Bartlett is.
Yeah.
There's like deep in my soul, I just want him to be a good person. Like he has flaws, he has anger issues at times, he fights with his wife, he yells at his kids every now and then. He is a flawed human being. But at
Yeah.
the same time, deep down, he is also just a good person.
And he'll get mad and stuff, but he also listens to his staff. Like when they tell
He
him
listens to
he's-
advice, he listens to
Right.
yes.
Yeah, I was wrong. You told me and
Yes.
stuff, and I accept that. That says a lot
Yes.
about a person,
It really does.
Shit.
God, I love this show. It's so good.
Mm.
Anyways, let's move on because Jordan's like really getting antsy and he just wants to go watch Ahsoka. So
I don't know what you're talking about.
okay. So
Got a little motherfucking countdown timer in the back.
in towards the end of season 6, there is a group of astronauts who are stuck on the space station, the International Space Station, and no one has a spaceship that would be ready in time to go and save them because there's like an air leak or something like that. They have like 3 days to go get these guys so they can be saved. And at this point, there's a discussion about the fact that there is no space shuttle when basically the Secretary of Defense is just kind of acting a little shifty. And then you find out that the military has designed and produced a space shuttle for military use. It is not known. It is basically code word clearance, or not necessarily code word clearance, but one of the highest clearances that you would have to get to find out about this.
Uh-huh.
Eventually, that is leaked to the press. The journalist who leaked this story or wrote the story would not give up they end up using that secret space shuttle to go and save the astronauts. But it is leaked that the United States has a military shuttle. So the journalist is put in jail. And then there is, towards the end of season 6 and the beginning of season 7, basically you find out, or at least it is said, that Toby, Richard Schiff's character, is the one who leaked the plans. There is a theory that Toby just took the fall. They do not specify who leaked them, but he's the one who admits to it, to not only save whoever actually leaked the plans, but at the same time to save the Santos McGarry ticket as they are running for election. So Toby never actually, and even Richard Schiff believes that it was someone else who did it, because it would just seem completely out of character for Toby, who was the
No.
communications director.
I did not watch the last couple seasons, but that feels in character for him because he was
Yeah.
very much, I wouldn't exactly say like an introvert, but it always felt like he was processing everything in his head. He was very much like he would let things build up and it would all just kind of explode.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I could see him very much realizing it's for the greater good for him to paint himself as a villain and take the fall for this.
So
That's
I
my
honestly
take.
think I think that's true. But
Yeah.
that's just me. So
I-
Jordan, do you
I
have
do
any
as well.
thoughts, or do you not? You're good. Okay. So I got 2 more left.
Okay.
In season 4, you've watched season 4, correct, Dustin?
Yeah, I watched up until Sorkin left and
Okay.
stuff. The tonal difference was a little weird for me. And
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
Well, then you would remember that Sam Seaborn, Rob Lowe's character,
Mhm.
he I'm not going to go into the whole backstory of it because otherwise we'll be here all night. Anyways, his character decides to run for Congress. He is part of a special election to run in Orange County's 47th district to try and go to Congress. He ends up actually losing that election, and Rob Lowe's character actually leaves the show.
And it ends up in Parks and Rec. Is that what you're telling me?
He does end up in parking. Not Sam Seaborn, no. But the reason
He got so
There-
happy
there's-
about that.
I know, right? No,
I thought I was putting it together in my head. It was like
Sam-
a 1,000 move IQ thing. Okay, go ahead.
Sam Seaborn and Chris, I forgot his last name. His character from Parks and Rec. Anyways, doesn't matter. Those are 2 completely different characters. I mean,
Okay,
just-
okay. He
Hmm.
changes his name. He
he
wants
changed
to,
his name and
yeah.
goes to Indiana. I don't think so. But anyways, so Rob Lowe's character, Rob Lowe originally left is partially, it depends who you listen to. Some say it's money, some say it's he's not getting the screen time that he wants. He's not getting the stories that he wants. So, and honestly, his character did kind of fall off after the first season because he had this long overarching story throughout the first season. And after that, it just kind of like little things here and there, but there's never anything big for Sam, which was kind of disappointing because I really did like it as a character. But anyways, the reason that they decided to, or at least this is the theory, that they decided to have Sam lose the election is because Aaron Sorkin didn't want there to be a spinoff, which was rumored upon when the show was originally going on, that Rob Lowe was going to get a spinoff series and it was going to be Sam in Congress.
I'd buy that, man, because in all honesty, Rob Lowe was added to the show to get it greenlit. Because most of the other actors were Broadway guys.
Yeah.
And Rob Lowe had an established career in other movies and stuff. And he wasn't
Rob
really
Lowe
like
and
a-
John Spencer were both the 2 heavies brought
right,
onto that show. And even Martin Sheen wasn't the original choice to play the president.
right.
It
Who was the
I forgot who it was.
It's
I-
like Johnny Depp.
No. If I hear that, like, I'll look it up later and I'll let you know. But I honestly don't remember. But they actually, Aaron Sorkin went to Rob Lowe and asked him, he's like, well, we were thinking about asking Martin Sheen when their first guy passed. They're like, what do you think about Martin Sheen? Do you know anything? Do you know him or anything like that? And if you listen to Two Bears, One Cave, Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura's podcast, Rob Lowe recently did an episode where he talked about growing up, and Martin Sheen and Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen lived like 3 or 4 houses down from him when he moved out to California. So
Uh-huh.
he had known Martin Sheen most of his life.
Wow.
So it's just like, yeah, I know him.
Could you imagine living that close to the Estevez? Estevez's? Estevez.
Estevai?
Estevez. There we go.
I
Estevez.
like that in the
Estevai.
Estevai. Yeah.
Estevai. Yeah, the
That's if they're
Estevais.
all in a group in one place.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
So-
you gotta keep in mind it was what Martin and Charlie changed their last name, right?
Yeah.
yes,
They
they
actually changed their names completely
Martin and Charlie
because they are both Estevez, but changed their name when
yes.
when
Martin
like
Sheen
did American
changed
names.
their name to be more American sounding,
Yep.
whereas Emilio was just like, I don't care.
He was like I'm gonna be just as good with my own
Yeah.
name.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I mean, there is some precedence to this because, if you've ever seen MASH, I'm not sure if that's a show you guys have seen or not.
I love me some MASH.
MASH was so good. At the end of either season 2 or season 3, when Colonel Blake was being sent home. Originally, what they were saying, what was going to happen was him and Radar were both going to leave, and they were going to do a spin-off series where it's like Blake at home. So
Oh, wow.
you continue to follow Colonel Blake's story as he goes back to America from the Korean War. But apparently, he started writing that or coming up with the idea without the permission of the writers and the people who came up with MASH. So that final scene where Radar comes in and tells everyone that Henry Blake died was a complete surprise to the actor, because he
Wow.
thought he was
shit.
going to get his own spin-off series.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I there is some precedence to this, and I think it's definitely something that
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a little meta, but yeah, I just from the clues and stuff that I know about the production of everything, it really does seem like Aaron Sorkin created the show, and originally it was actually supposed to be a comedy, but like it comes out, he brings in this Rob Lowe character to get it greenlit, and
Yeah.
there's a lot more of him in that first season, and then trying to turn it into something about the side character that he didn't intend for it to be about.
Yeah.
He's probably just fed up with it at this point, and he's like, you know what, I'm killing him off, I'm leaving the show.
Yeah. So,
It
but
makes sense.
Rob Lowe does actually return. Sam Seaborn returns in the 7th season and comes back for a couple episodes.
Yeah, I meant it more metaphorically.
Yeah,
what
I know. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that he ends up
Yeah.
does come back eventually.
But yeah.
So we are now down to our final theory, and it is probably the key theory for this episode.
Oh,
Dropping keys when James ain't here. Oh my
know.
god.
So
Man.
Clark Gregg, who was friends with Aaron Sorkin, you actually see him in quite a few things that Aaron Sorkin has done. He played an FBI agent by the name of Mike Casper. So the theory goes that the West Wing and the MCU exist in the same universe.
He
And
is
that when-
Captain America.
When Mike Casper was recruited to S.H.I.E.L.D., he changed his name to Phil Coulson.
Oh shit.
Because he plays an FBI agent, and a really, really good one. So it is possible. The name change would be a little weird, but it is possible that Mike Casper is Phil Coulson.
Whoa. Dude. That's amazing, but this also makes me think the timeline where Captain America goes back and lives out his life with Peggy Carter, he just lived the life of Jed Barnett. Dude.
So
He's like,
Captain
you know what?
America becomes an economics professor?
Yes, why not?
He just like, you know what I did, war. I'm just gonna, do numbers and shit now.
Yeah, and I'm gonna fix the country from the inside. I'm tired of beating up people,
Captain America.
dude.
I honestly don't think it's real, but that it is fun to think about.
So
No,
I just
it's
I
fun.
looked it up and there's two comments on the Michael Casper West Wing fandom page,
Yeah.
and it's literally, I've always personally loved the notion that Phil Coulson of Shield was undercover in the Bartlett administration. The West Wing is part of the MCU. I love it. That's literally the two
What?
comments in there, which is hilarious.
I
But
love it.
so what it would be is
Confirmed.
time
I'm
well,
saying
no,
it
time
now.
timeline, it wouldn't add up properly that he was
No,
the
shut
FBI
up.
agent. Hold on, that he was the
I
FBI
know.
agent, then became Shield. What you could say is he was Shield because I think he joined Shield in 93 or 94.
Yeah.
He's Shield, and then he goes and changes his name to Michael Casper to be an FBI agent for this administration, so that way Shield had somebody in every area of the government too. So you could say it that way because he would be active during 2001, which is when this would be taking place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. So
I
Shield
like
had
that.
people as FBI agents in the government. Would be a better way to look at it.
That is a better theory. Thank you, Jordan.
There you go.
Thank you, Jordan.
You're welcome. Look, MCU knowledge, I can come in. Okay.
No,
And Jet is Captain America.
Jet is Captain
Just
America.
kidding.
It's Captain Rogers.
He's Captain
just-
America where the serum didn't work, so he's actually aged.
Whatever. He could
It
kick
counts.
ass if he wanted
It's
to.
fine. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
All right.
Man.
Well, that's the end of this episode.
Well, that was
Thank you.
fun.
That was fun.
I might actually one day give
Dude,
this show
you
a
should
chance.
you should give it a chance. I highly recommend The West Wing. It is such a fun show. I enjoy it. Caitlin's giving me a dirty look.
You're watching that scene where he's in the chapel, and you got to tell me that you don't want to watch it after that scene.
I'm gonna find it
Link
and send
it.
it to you, Jordan,
Link
because
me the
I
scene.
will send you the scene. So that's the end of this episode. Obviously, our Ahsoka Reacts will come out in a few days. And next week is the episode that, in theory, has been planned for the last several months, if they've actually been planning it. And I'm looking at Dustin, and I'm not quite sure that he has. Because next week we are tackling one of Jordan and Dustin's favorite shows, and that is Supernatural.
Oh,
Yeah.
I stand by that. Supernatural, it cannot just be like, it's going to be a multi-part series. It has
Well,
to be not
I
not consecutively, but like we need to break it up over time because there's so much shit.
Dude,
with
there's
15 seasons.
Yeah. Like
plus
have no
another
problem with
season.
doing that.
Yes, but yes, we have
And-
a lot of things, even stuff that we've come up with, like discussion about, like, would this be a thing? Would this be a thing based off the lore of Supernatural? So we've
Yeah.
been in it, man.
And I need
Okay.
to work this out to where Aaron can be involved in it, because he's the only reason I started watching it. Like he
Maybe
was
we
like,
get Aaron on next week.
Yeah.
yeah,
We'll talk to him. Anyways, we'll see you guys next week or in a couple days when we do the Ahsoka Reacts. You can find us over on Facebook, facebook.com/Centerway Society. Go give our Facebook page a like. Let us know what you think of the show, if we're doing a good job, if we're doing a terrible job.
yeah. And check out TikToks of James fighting bears in
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah.
James does fight
Allegedly.
bears. And
Allegedly.
allegedly fights bears in Florida.
Allegedly.
Yeah, they might be people in costumes. We don't know.
We're not
Just
100%
like
sure, to
China.
be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
So we're over on TikTok at Centerway Society. Let's see here. We're also over on YouTube, where you can watch us do this shenanigans. And you
Shenanigans.
see Dustin's collection of awesome things and Jordan's amps and my random signs that I post
Yeah.
every now and then.
Destiny Ghosts.
There you go.
Yeah.
You can also listen
Just
to us
looks
on
like a blur.
Spotify. You can listen to it as just podcast form over on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, anywhere you can find a podcast. So we will see you guys next time with Supernatural or the Ahsoka Reacts. Yeah, that's it. Bye, guys. See you next time.